Look in upon the heart, just focusing in for a moment, allowing the attention to pull away from that external orientation and just kind of pulling the attention in. Good. Noticing the breath, noticing posture, your seat. Just beginning to notice this internal realm and tapping into this experiential intelligence, right, of the body, this feedback that we get from the body as we move through practice this morning. So breathing in full, wide and deep exhale, let it go. Grounding your seat, you can release the arms. Nice. And we'll just take little half moon circles, rolling the head side to side. Maybe left ear to left shoulder. Good. Right ear to right shoulder. Breathing in. I'm transitioning on the in-breath here. Exhaling into the stretch. Breathing in. Let's take the shoulders up towards the ears. So lift through the side body. Exhale back and down. Just kind of get right into that shoulder girdle. Good. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Good. Exhale. And one more time, deep breath in. Exhale, full breath out. Good. Extend from the center of the chest outwards, small little circles. Again, just bringing some movement right into the shoulder joint. So integrating collarbone, shoulder blades, and then the upper arm. So think of hollowing the armpit, kind of pulling those arms sort of back in towards the body, but without squeezing the shoulder blades. So pause and reverse the roll. Really nice. Just getting some movement in there. Beautiful. And then gently extending again from center chest out through the fingers. Here are your warrior two arms, right? And then gently release down. We'll take a little side stretch. So we're going to start by walking that left hand out and tipping over onto that left hip. So I've got the right foot flat on the floor as I walk that left hand out. And you can extend the arm overhead. You can also just work with the arm, right, or the hand gently pressing that right thigh out and down towards the floor. So this is to give you that sense of traction through the iliopsoas, right? So if you can kind of flex a little bit more, go ahead and flex. Take a deep breath in and just really feel into that side stretch. Watch that left or lower shoulder, releasing that shoulder. You might even look down behind the shoulder if you need to take the arm a little further out or a little further in. Just kind of feel into that side stretch. And then inhale to bring yourself back up. Very lovely. And we'll take a little twist over to the right, left hand across the front of the body. And again, you can take it to either knee, right? What you don't want to do is start to use the shoulder to bring yourself into the twist. So find that extension, breathing tall up towards the sky. Exhale. Again, think of the tail end of the spine, right, as turning a little tiny bit to direct the twist. And then it's really the torso revolving relative to the pelvis. So maybe that left hip can dial back a little bit as the abdomen rolls to the right. And if you feel inclined to, take the gaze over the right shoulder, relax the left shoulder, gaze out the corner, the right corners of your eyes. Again, a little vagal tapping into the vagus nerve. Exhale, bring the navel to the spine and gently release the eyes, release the head, come back to center. And we're going to come into a little forward bend here. So let's hinge from the hips. If you have height, this is where you may want to remove the height. You can also sit on a chair and take that right foot, right, on top of right heel on top of left thigh. Good. And then just kind of, you can do this sitting on a chair, you can do this sitting on the floor. And just instead of coming forward, you're bringing the legs to you when you're sitting on the ground. On the chair, you just have a little bit more, I think it just makes it sometimes a little bit more accessible. And then those of us who want to stay on the floor, Agni Shtambasana, just kind of stacking that right foot on top of that left thigh. Good. And walking the hands forward, or just staying in Swastikasana, right, where the leg is just crossed in front. Again, you want to make sure that the knees aren't being forced down, that it's really the torso that's coming towards the thighs, towards the legs. So again, just feeling into that anterior tilt of the pelvis. Good, that lift of the heart. I'm using a tripod position, just kind of really access the hips a little bit. I'm feeling it this morning in the hips and the lower back, outer hips, lower back. Good, keep a soft awareness in the feet, widening through the ball of the foot, so put the brain in the foot, as Iyengar would say, I imagine. And as you exhale, stretch the heel, the Achilles, away from the back of the knee. See if you can get a little bit of space behind the knee. It's going to feel like the knees are coming, the head of the knee are coming together, the head of the shin bones are coming a little closer together or moving towards each other. Good, invisibly so. Navel to spine. Good. And then breathing in, see if something can soften. Good. So you just kind of access the place where there's enough sensation, but not too much. And we'll take a few breaths. And again, there's a quality of fluidity, right? Once you meet yourself in the posture, see if you can just ride the sensation. It's not about static. It's not about holding, right? It's not about freezing. It's really about, can I notice the sensation? Can I breathe into it? Can I move through it a little bit? Maybe release a little on the inhale, explore that edge of sensation with the exhalation of the breath. And we're going to do this for 2 more breaths. Broadening the collarbones, keep the head above the heart, and breathe in. Widen through the ball of the foot, stretch out through the Achilles, the heels. Exhale the navel to the spine. Good, noticing that space of sensation, and then breathe into it again. Inhale. Exhale. Empty the breath. Start to walk the hands in on the inhalation. Bring yourself back up to an upright position. Good. Exhale. We're going to extend those legs. So either feet to the floor if you're sitting on the chair. Good. You can extend the legs into Upavishta Konasana, the seated wide ankle pose. And then just circle the ankles. Let's get into those ankles a little bit. Beautiful. First rolling in one direction, then the other. You can take the feet in the same direction, right? Get a little hip action or just counter rotation. But either way, just kind of try to do this in both directions. Lovely. Good. And then breathing in, let's step those feet in. We're just going to take a little movement in between sides and come back to the other side, crossing the left leg in front of right. But we're going to take this reverse table pose. So again, if you're working with shoulder stuff, you're just going to keep the hips on the ground. I'm taking the hands behind me. You have the option of taking the fingers out to the sides. That works really nicely for a lot of us for the shoulders and the wrists, right? And then the idea is as you bend your elbows, is just try to get the elbows parallel to one another. So it's going to be drawing the shoulder back a tiny bit, elbows in a tiny bit. If you're squeezing the shoulder blades, you're a little too enthusiastic. And we'll press into the ball of the hand, stretch the heel of the hand down, especially on the little finger side, and pull up on the elbow. Good. And see if you can get a little bit of lift in the chest. And then anyone who wants to do this reverse table pose, just slide the hips a little closer to your heels. This gives you shoulder extension, a stretch across the front of the shoulder. Again, you're not squeezing the shoulder blades, right? You're just rolling the shoulder back a tiny bit and drawing the elbows in. And like that, you can access the triceps. So you're going to lift the hips, use your feet to lift the pelvis, use your arms to extend. And we'll take a nice deep breath in here. Good. Just waking up the arms, the legs, the grounding actions of the hands and the feet. And then lower down. Inhale. Exhale. Bring yourself back up to an upright position. And let's cross that left leg in front of right. Beautiful. Inhale. You can bring the hands out to the sides to begin with. Nice. Exhale. Navel, ribcage draw back towards the spine. Find the ground of your seat. And then just kind of take the gaze over that left shoulder. Look out the left corner of your eyes. Bring your head back, relax the gaze, and over to the other side. Good, looking out through the far right corners of your eyes. Relax the gaze and bring your head back. One more time each side, broadening the collarbones. Breathe in, exhale. Gaze out the far left corners. Relax the gaze, come back. Turn the head to the far right. Look out the right corners of your eyes. Exhale. Relax the gaze and come back. Beautiful. This time we're going to take the hands and interlace the fingers, Amitabha Mudra. Good. And then inhale. And you can either extend the arms out in front of you, right? Or up towards the sky as you exhale. So a full breath to lift and a full breath to lower. Breathing in, spin the hands at the heart. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. So the thumbs stay touching, and then you extend through the heel of the hand and pluck up on that elbow and then lift the rib cage away from the pelvis. Again, you can bring some movement into the spine, right, as you work with the arm action here. Good. Arm extension, shoulder flexion. Good. Inhale. Exhale one more time. Deep breath in. Good. Exhale. So we get into the wrists a little bit here. Lift, lift, lift. Exhale. Inhale. Breathe in. Lungs rise. Good. Exhale. Hands release. Very nice. Good. And then from here, we're going to take that stretch over to the other side. So walk that right hand out. So I'm bringing that left foot flat to the floor, tipping the whole pelvis. Good. And then from here, you can extend that left arm and release that left leg out to the side. You could also just take that left heel of left hand to the inner thigh. You can kind of feel the adductor tendon here, right? Hip flexor tendon. Good. And just kind of stretch it out, stretch out that left. I'm feeling that stretch in that lower back, even with the arm down, just encouraging this left thigh to release towards the floor. My left sitting bone isn't quite on the ground. Good. You just weight that left outer thigh towards the floor. Breathe in, find extension through that whole left side of the body. Maybe look down towards that right shoulder if that feels appropriate to do so. I think that can help to release the neck, the weight of the head. And then let's come all the way back up to an upright position. Really nice. Good. We'll take that twist over to the left this time. Right arm comes across, left hand behind. Find that uprightness in your posture. Good. Put the brain at the very tail end of the spine and allow it to turn. Feel like it's directing. Good. Like a rudder, right? Directing the direction of your twist. Guiding the direction of your twist. And then you're twisting through the abdomen. Good. Maybe gaze over that left shoulder. Look out the left corners of your eyes. Breathe in. Relax the right shoulder. And gently come back to center. Really nice. So the last part to this is we're going to come into that forward bend, hinging forward so you can adjust your posture. We're going to get right into the hips here. I think it's always the most challenging, and then we're going to sort of start our grounding practice with the hips this morning. So just kind of coming forward. Good. So I'm in Agni Shtambasana, that fire log pose. You got some nice widening through the ball of the foot. The heels, the Achilles are stretching out. Good. So you create a sense of space in the sacrum, in the pelvis. Good. As you gently hinge forward. And again, just finding that place of sensation. Breathe in. Exhale. Can the navel draw into the body like a bubble rising towards the surface of the back? As we come forward or out, keep the head above the level of the heart. Really important for the heart to keep rising so there's no collapse in the spine, in the spinal system, right? Inhale the nervous system. Exhale, we're waking up the nervous system, good, the somatic body. And you're feeling, right, the sensation in the muscles sending messages to the brain. Usually like, get out, get out, get out. So as you breathe, right, you're giving permission to the nervous system to adapt to the sensation. We call this distress tolerance, building tolerance in the nervous system for a little bit of stress. Good. A little bit of stretch, a little bit of like, ooh, discomfort. So again, the idea is to not push or force or strive, but just kind of meet the sensation with as much equanimity as possible. We'll take another couple breaths, just breathing in, right? Exhale, working with the exhalation of the breath to soften in. It's not to push through. We want the exhalation is always an invitation to let go of something, right? To soften into something. Good to meet a sensation with a little bit more mental spaciousness. And let's take a deep breath in, lifting the gaze, lifting the heart. Let's walk the hands back in. Exhale, lean back. Good. And this time we're going to take the feet to the floor and take Navasana. So just kind of tip your pelvis back a little bit here, and we'll pull the feet up away from the floor and draw the arms out. So all we're going to do here is toe tap and then pull the feet and the knees in. Sometimes it helps to cross the ankles as you pull the legs in. Toe tap. So I'm just going to kind of lean back a little bit, right? Drop the ribs and cross the other leg in front. Try to keep the knees rolling together. So if you need to, heel of the hand to outer thigh as you pull in. And we're just really refining the action, right, of the abdomen here. Breathe in. Exhale. Pull the lower ribs down and into the body as you squeeze the thighs to the chest. We're going to do this like 108 times. Not quite. Exhale. Inhale. I'm just trying to wake myself up. Inhale. Exhale. If you find your hip flexors are getting tight, use your arms. So I'm just kind of bringing the heel of the hand to the outer calf and pulling in. Inhale. You should be getting a little sensation in the abdomen. If the hip flexors are doing a lot of the work, use the arms to support the action. Watch the shoulders. So 2 more times each side. Inhale if you're switching feet. So 4 times altogether. Exhale. Inhale. Inhale. Exhale. Good. Hold. And let's roll over the feet and come forward onto hands and knees. Woo! Good. We'll start here with our cat-cow. So again, you have an option here of taking the hands out to the sides if that feels more appropriate to your wrists. So the thumbs are stretching in the direction of the fingers. So you're not at a right angle with the thumb and the index because that's too much strain on that thumb joint. Take a deep breath in and let's just kind of drop the pelvis. So here's your anterior tilt of the pelvis. And then shift your weight a little forward, pull up on the arms, and lift the heart. Good. Drop into the shoulders, shift your weight back. Now posterior tilt of the pelvis. Scoop the tailbone under, lift the navel, retract the ribs, and draw the chin towards the chest. Inhale, anterior tilt of the pelvis. Exhale, gaze off the tip of the nose with the crown reaching to the sky. So extension of the spine and flexion of the spine. Cow pose is the extension. This is cat pose, flexion. Full breath transitioning into an extension of the spine. Gaze off the nose. This will protect the neck. And full breath to transition into flexion of the spine. And inhale to neutral spine. So stabilize or ground the hands. Again, you can have the fingers pointing out. That works. We're going to come into downward facing dog. Flex your toes. Rock your hips back and drive down through the feet to lift the sacrum to the sky. Keep a small bend in the knees. And we're just going to kind of use the flexion of the knees. The feet are grounded. The ball of the foot is grounded, right? The heels of the feet are off the floor. Arms are extended, shifting my weight back. And I just want to bounce a little bit. I just want to get a little bit of movement in the joints, get some fluid movement through the body here. Right, so I'm not jumping. I'm not, you can if you want to, but I'm just going to get that soft sort of flexion in the knees. We want the knees pointing in the direction of the toes and doing what they do, right? They create springiness in the legs. Good. And you get a little bit of movement through the hips. You can shift your weight to one side. You can shift your weight to the other side if you want to, while you continue to create this little bouncy movement. I find it's really nice in the morning, just kind of gets everything flowing and loosened up. Good. And then when you're ready, you can pedal out the legs again slowly, breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out, and then meeting yourself in your downward facing dog. Good. Finding that extension of the spine by extending those arms, integrating the shoulders, lengthening the hips away from the rib cage. So finding some length through the sides of the waist. Good. The length of either side of your spine. And then let the head release, gazing back between the toes or the knees or towards the navel. Good. One more deep breath in. Keep the energy in the arms this morning. Good. The heels don't have to come all the way down to the floor, right? It's a destination. It's not a goal. And then very gently lifting the heels. Let's walk the feet towards the hands or the hands towards the feet. Good. And we'll come into ragdoll pose here. So feet about hip distance apart. Again, grounding for the pelvis, for the hips. Exhale, soften your knees, and then stretch the navel as far out towards the knees as possible. Drape the chest around your thighs. So my rib cage can come to rest on my legs, and let the head release, let the shoulders fall towards the ears. And breathe. Just take a few breaths here in your ragdoll pose. If you need to keep the head above the heart, this is why the chair is there. You can place the forearms on the chair. You can also just kind of take your elbows to your thighs. Keep the head above the level of the heart here. So you have the extension of the spine, the grounding of the legs. Good. And we're going to kind of just strengthen the legs for a moment here by dropping. So you might be in your ragdoll pose, right? Release the fingertips to the floor. And we're going to drop the hips. So coming into a version of Utkatasana, a chair pose, where you want to try to get the sits bones weighted towards the floor, right? And the weight a little bit more towards the heels of your feet. So my arms are kind of creating a counterbalance by coming out in front of me. Eventually, you want the knees kind of moving back over the ankles of the ankle joint. And then you're going to shift your weight forward and move towards ragdoll pose or a little further into Uttanasana extension. Bend your knees, rock your weight back, lifting the head above the level of the heart as you drop down. So powering the legs, step into your heels, shift your weight forward into the ball of the foot, and then the heel roots down as the kneecaps lift. You have to really activate the quadriceps, the front of your thighs, in order to support the stretch in the hamstrings. It feels intense, because it is. Inhale, we're going to do this 2 more times. Good. Exhale, if you're inclined to, Ardha Utkatasana, arms extend. Inhale forward. Slowly step into the heels, pull up on the kneecaps, lift and draw into the abdomen to help bring the torso forward, not the shoulders. And last time, inhale, bend the knees, shift your weight back. Exhale, arms way out in front of you. Inhale, tip the weight forward. Beautiful. Exhale and bow. Soften through the knees and root to rise. We're going to come all the way to an upright position. Sweep the arms to the sky. Good. And then release the arms by your sides. Really nice. And let's open to the sides to face the long edge of the mat. And we're going to turn the right toes out and the left toes in. Beautiful. And you have your chair. We did a bunch of stuff with the chair last week, so feel free to work with the chair if that's what you'd like to do. And just start by bending. So we're getting into that flexion and extension. So I'm just going to bring the hands to your hips, turn the pelvis right towards that right leg a little bit. So you have this external rotation of the right thigh. The key is to not let the pelvis tip forward. So scooch or gently draw the tailbone, press the tailbone a little forward. And then the key is to get that drawing back of the belly and the drawing in of the rib cage, and then the rib cage can rotate. Good. And we're just going to keep the hands on the hips and bend into the knee. So the knee follows the direction of the toes, drawing the thigh back towards the hip, and exhale to extend. Good. 2 more times. Bend. So you're going to feel the extension right through this back leg, hip, and psoas. Right, so the leg is fairly neutral, but we're rotating the torso. And one more time. This time we're going to stay in warrior 2. Nice. Extend the arms. Reverse the warrior pose. So just start by lifting, pull the rib cage in and lean. Exhale, maybe the gaze extends up, maybe the gaze goes back towards that back shoulder. Inhale back to warrior 2, side angle pose. Inner thigh stretches towards the inner knee, wraps around the front of the knee, draws the hip back, and you can take that right elbow to thigh. Good. Left hand can come towards the floor. Right, left arm can come in front of you. This works really nicely. Left arm can extend. And again, we're just going to start to rotate the torso. Don't use the arm. We tend to use the arm to rotate. So if you're not using the arm, you're just going to rotate the torso. Take that left hand and bring the right line through, keeping that left hip rolling forward as the lung rolls open. Good. Let's take 2 full breaths. Soften, inhale. So again, there's fluidity within the posture. Exhale. Inhale, come back to your warrior 2, and then exhale, extend the leg. Triangle pose. Inhale, lift the heart. Exhale, I'm going to have us bring the hands back to the hips, rotate that left hip forward, and hinge out over that right leg. So you can take the right hand to chair. I'm going to have us bring the left hand to the chair as well. So you can soften the knee a little bit if you need to. I'm going to bring that back leg in a tiny bit. Step into that front heel, dial that front hip back. So you might be here. This might be your pose. So we're kind of halfway between our triangle pose and our Parshvottanasana. So my right hand, again, you can work with a block. The right hand is under the right shoulder. And then I'm going to bring that left hand to left hip. Inhale. Try not to pull on the hip. Notice. See if you can step into this right heel, front edge of the heel, lift through the abdomen, and now you're going to rotate just the torso. Keep rolling that left hip in and extend that left arm if that feels appropriate. Take a couple breaths. Breathe in. Use the legs. Inhale, lift. Exhale. Good. Gently release the hand. Bend the leg. Good. And we're going to come into just kind of this version of warrior 1, stepping into that front heel and lifting the heart. Find the extension of the back leg. And now extend your legs, dial the toes in. Good. And breathe. Take a deep breath in. The arms can come out to the sides. Exhale. Release the hands to your hips. Prasarita Padottanasana. Hinge forward. Walking the hands forward under the shoulders. It's like a little expanded downward facing dog. And then exhale. You can soften the knees a little bit here, rooting through the instep, right? Inner heel, inside edge of the feet, and then stretch those hips back, walk the hands forward so you get that spinal length. Breathe in, breathe out. Pull up on the kneecaps if that feels appropriate. Try not to round the back. So nice stretches here. Strengthening and stretching, strengthening and stretching. Grounding, rooting, and expanding. Good. Inhale, lift the gaze, walk the hands back in. Beautiful. Dial the toes out, the heels in. We're going to come into Durgasana, bend the knees. Yeah, little rock from side to side. Getting into the hips. Walk those hands in, hands to thighs. Shoulders. Let's get into the shoulders a little bit. Left shoulder to right knee. Right shoulder to left knee. Just finding some length and space in the back. So here, rotation of the shoulder, internal, external, internal, external. Step into the heels, come to an upright position. Beautiful. We'll do a little breath work here. So you could be sitting on the chair if you want to with the legs out to the sides. We're going to take the arms out. Good. And you can fist the hands very lightly. And we're going to open 2 breaths. Inhale, inhale through the nose. Exhale. Sniff, sniff, exhale through the mouth. Sniff, sniff in, exhale through the mouth. 2 more times. And inhale, open, lift, reach, and extend. Good. And exhale, release the arms. You're going to dial the left toes in, right toes in this time, left toes out. So we're going to come into our triangle pose, warrior 2 pose on the other side. Good. Find that uprightness of your posture, right? You want to make sure that the hips are level. So sometimes our body just kind of likes to take a break, but see if you can take that break with a quality of evenness. So really extend through the back leg, externally rotate through that left leg. I'm going to have us turn a little bit towards that left leg, press the tailbone a little forward, the abdomen, the navel draws back, the rib cage draws in, and then see if you can get a lift and a rotation. Bend into that left knee, hands to your hips, and then re-extend. Good. Inhale. Exhale. Step into the heel, extend the leg. As you bend into that left leg, see if you can really extend through the back leg. One more time. And this time we're going to stay. So here we're grounding and strengthening. Inhale, Virabhadrasana 2. Good. Exhale, flip that left palm and inhale, reverse. Extend up. And then, so reverse warrior 2 pose. Exhale, look down behind the right shoulder or up towards that top hand. Inhale back to warrior 2, side angle pose. So dial, right, inner thigh stretching towards inner knee. Dial around the knee and back towards the hip. And we're just going to start by taking that left elbow to left thigh. You can then take your right arm across the front of the body, keep the extension in the back leg, and start to build that rotation. So that right hip is rolling forward as you roll the left lung and stack, right? So you have options here. Inhale, deep breath. Exhale. Keep dialing that left hip back, rotating the right lung open. Make sure it's not the shoulder. Good, especially if the arm's extended. One more deep breath in. Good, exhale. Use that top arm, step into that left heel, reach with the back leg. Inhale, Virabhadrasana 2, and gently extend. Triangle pose. So I'm going to have us turn towards the left leg and start to hinge out over the left leg, taking left hand to the seat of the chair or the floor, right hand to the seat of the chair or the floor, right? And we're going to dial that left hip back. We really want to get the extension of that left leg. You might bend the knee a tiny bit in order to step into the heel and power the hip back. Good. My left hand is going to come under the shoulder, so you might be working with a block or not, right? My right hip is rolling forward here. Lift and draw into the abdomen. Re-extend that left leg if it's bent. And now draw that left lung. I'm rolling that right thigh in as I'm stacking and rotating the torso in the opposite direction. Inhale, extend the right arm if that feels appropriate. Deep breath in, relax the left shoulder. Exhale. It's like a corkscrew. Inhale. Good. Right hip dialing forward, rotate through the torso. And one more breath. Good. Inhale, release the hands. Remember, we're going to come into a warrior 1 version here. So bend your left leg, stack the hands on top of the thigh, step into the front heel and start to lift the heart. Here's your extension. Good. And then bring the legs parallel. Left toes turn in. Good. Inhale, reach the arms out to the sides. Exhale, hands to your hips. Prasarita Padottanasana. Inhale, lift the heart. Exhale, roll the thighs in, take the hips back, and walk the hands to the earth. This time we're going to walk the hands back. So take the hands back between the feet. Feel free to spin the hands so that the fingers dial out and back. And walk the hands back between the legs, releasing the head to a block, to the chair, to the earth. And breathe. Inhale, walk the hands forward under the shoulders, lift the heart. Dial the toes out, heels in, bend the knees. Good. And again, just a little bit of a side to side movement here. Good. Whatever feels good for your body, right? Feel into the knees, stack right over the ankle. Good. Bring the feet a little closer together as necessary, as needed. Really nice. Toe heel the feet a little closer together for mandalasana. So we're going to come back into our yoga. We're going to come all the way down into our yogic squat with a little bit of elevation under the heels. We're going to work into just some arm balance stuff. You don't have to, obviously. If you're working with shoulder stuff, we're going to accommodate that. From here, let's come forward onto hands and knees nice and gently, or you can lower back towards the hips. So I'm working with the chair behind me. If you have a wall, I will show you with the wall. So alternatives, right? You can work with the block. This is kind of nice. This may depend on the flexion in the shoulders, but a nice way to kind of work with the shoulders, just to kind of get some support here, is to place, so again, you might have to come a little closer depending on what the shoulders are like. So just kind of rest the elbows on your block and try to get the elbows as close together as possible, right? That's going to broaden your back. It's a little bit, it's working into the Garudasana arms, right, where we cross the elbows. So it's going to give you that same kind of feeling sensation in the back of the shoulders. The palms come together, right? And then you can increase the distance of the block from the knees over time. So you start with the elbows on the block, hands together, and you stretch the hips back towards the heels, and then you rest the head in your elbows. If you can't get the hips all the way back, or again, it may depend on the knees, you just work with the block a little closer. So the idea is to get the hips weighted back and down so you have a little traction in the back of the shoulders here. Good. And those of you who want to work with a little arm balancing, you want to start with your feet right under. So the legs of my chair come forward, and I want to make sure that the weight is on the front legs of the chair so it doesn't tip back, right? But because the legs come forward, I want the feet underneath the front of the seat of the chair. So I'm starting with my feet back a little bit beyond where the front legs of the chair. If they're straight down, you're just going to bring the feet back between the front legs of the chair. And then hands underneath the shoulders. Good. And then from here, I can shift my weight back. So this is kind of nice because it takes some weight. So I'm just taking my hips way back. I have flexion in the shoulders, extension in the arms, but my legs, right? I can lift my feet up here. My legs are resting on the seat of the chair. Otherwise, we're going to shift our weight forward. Step one foot to the seat of the chair and then the other, and you're going to lift your sacrum to the sky. Try not to pull into the lower back. You got to really pull into the abdomen here and the ribs and lift. Breathe in. Breathe out. See if you can stay for 2 more breaths. So again, you don't want to push through the shoulders, right? You want to be on top of those arms, rooting down through the hands and pulling up. 1 more deep breath in, and then exhale, bend your knees. Take your feet back to the floor, ragdoll pose, sit on the chair, right? Just kind of relax for a moment. Woo, good. So again, it might just be 1 or 2 breaths to begin with as you really build the arm capacity to support the weight of the body. So if I'm working with the wall, right, I'm going to start with the feet right up against the wall. Hips are going to be a little bit behind the knees, and the hands under the shoulders. So it always feels a little tight to begin with because you're going to, when you start coming up, walking the legs up the wall, you're going to have to pitch forward into the shoulders, which means there's some wrist flexion. You don't want to sink. You got to really lift through the abdomen here. And then the foot, try to get the foot at least hip high, right? So that you can really pull in and up. This is hard. And so then you're going to take one leg up towards the sky. This helps to really get that lift. And you can switch or bring the leg all the way down. Again, ragdoll pose, child's pose. So the key here is to not push through the shoulders. And we can all do this together. This is a nice way of those of you who are doing the elbows on the block, right, is move myself a little forward here, right, is to take the hands out in front of you. Push the hands, you can even use a wall, right? Push the hands against the wall and pull the navel and the ribs back. So the difference here is you're not pulling up on the shoulders, which is going to cause you to go over backwards. The minute the shoulders come up, you got a problem. So you want to dome the back. Here's your cat stretch, right? Push against something. Navel, ribs. Good. And then you want to kind of plug the arms into the shoulders, right? But below the back. And then see if you can just extend, right? The spine, lift the spine. What you don't want is hyperextension, right? Leaning forward, the legs are halfway up the wall, one leg extends, and it helps to get that lift. The key is to get the abdomen to continue working. You can keep the arms out in front of you if you want to. Good, and release. It's a lot of work with the arms, not without even the weight bearing action, right? Okay, let's come all the way down to the floor. So if you're having fun, keep going. Good. So let's roll down to the ground. I'd like to finish with some twisting. And just take a moment to relax, settle, and ground the nervous system. So the brain and the spine are your central nervous system. Beautiful. Lift the heels, peel the ball of the foot away from the floor, and see if you can draw both knees into the chest together. And I'm going to wrap my elbows around my knees, or just cradle the head of the shin bone with the hands. This gives you a nice little release in the back, up and asana, and we'll rock from side to side. So as I'm rocking from side to side, I'm letting my head, without lifting the head, I'm just going to let my head roll away from the direction of the knees. So if the knees are going to the right, the head rolls to the left, and vice versa. Beautiful. A little Feldenkrais movement here. And then let the knees lower to the right. Good. And the head can release over to the left with that left shoulder, that left arm. So my left shoulder, I want to keep my left shoulder on the floor, which means that you may have to put a block or bolster or cushion between the knees. Another option is to cross that right leg over the left leg over the right. And the legs are going to go to the right, and that left shoulder stays on the floor. So this is a little bit more intense because it's going to bring my hip right all the way up and over, which increases the twist. So the pelvis is moving in one direction, my torso is moving in the other. The twist has to come from the abdomen, so this is a very deep twist. Good. And typically requires quite a deep opening in the chest, in the pectoral wall. Good. And we'll take a couple of breaths. Notice where the breath kind of gets sticky or stuck, and exhale all the way. And then very gently, good. Use the legs to support yourself as you come up, drawing into the abdomen. If you're crossing the legs, you're crossing the legs. And then again, you can bring the knees back into the chest. So once the legs are uncrossed, just take a moment again to ground, and then bring both feet off the floor together, knees into the chest. And we're going to lower the knees over to the other side. So you're just going to roll over to the left. You want to try to keep, I'm going to counterweight the legs with the gaze over to the right, and that right arm stays on the ground. The right shoulder also kind of tucks underneath. See if you can slide that right shoulder blade down the back. I like to cross the legs. It just gives me a little bit more sensation in the places where I really appreciate the sensation, right? So again, I want to keep my right shoulder on the ground here as I take the knees over to the left. And you might put a bolster, a block, something underneath or between the knees, just so you can sort of begin to really relax into the position. There's no striving, right? Breathing in, breathing out. The hips are going in one direction. The torso is rolling in the opposite direction. It's really like wringing out a wet towel. It can be harder, feel like it's harder to breathe because you're compressing one lung with the twist, right? The right one in this case. So we'll take another deep breath and then we'll release. Relax the mind, relax the body, relax the breath. And then inhale, bring the knees up. The legs are crossed, uncross, and square the hips. Good. And just take a moment and rest. Deep breath in, full breath out. And then we'll gently stretch the legs out for Shavasana. If you have a chair, you can use the chair. Elevate the legs on the chair. Again, just kind of get some of the lymph fluid to flow from the feet. Lymph is not, unlike the vascular system that is kind of pumped, right? Where the heart pumps the blood through the body. And then all our postures and our movement, right, help to stimulate the heart, but also stimulate vascular flow. We need gravity to kind of get the lymph to travel from the feet down, right, through the body. The lymph carries sort of toxins from our tissues, cells and tissues, right, out through the breath. Good. And then all to the liver, organ of detoxification. So you could bring the legs up the wall, you can extend the legs on the chair, you can take your legs into the full expression of Shavasana, where the legs are at the level of the hips and the head and the heart. And wherever you choose to take this sort of posture of rest, of restoration, of release, of relaxation. Close your eyes and fold the four lobes of your brain inwards like the petals of a flower, folding in. This is the turning in upon sort of the bud of the self. And just take these last few moments of your practice to really receive, to become receptive, open, expanded. Right? When we say open, it's opening up to all experiences, even the ones we don't want, we don't like, and that we push away. What happens if we accept the experience as it is in this moment? Then we can get to know it. We can get to understand it, explore it, and shift it as necessary. And again, you always have the option of remaining exactly as you are right here, where you are right now. Or gently bringing yourself back to sitting to close out our practice this morning. Just again, bringing the attention back to the breath. Invite this thread of awareness to bring your attention back to the body on purpose in the present moment without judgment. And then from the body into the space around you as you stretch into the fingers and the toes, the hands and the feet, the arms and the legs. You're rolling in onto one side. Rolling to the right allows the yin energy to temper the yang energy, the feminine, the masculine, the left side to balance the right side. And then bring yourself to sitting. We'll bring the hands together in Anjali Mudra, offering at the heart. Shwasti prajabhya paripalayantam nyayena magena mahi mahishaha gobrahmanyebhya shubhamastu nityam loka samastaha sukhino bhavantu. Kale varshatu parjanyaha prithvivisasya shalani deshoyam shobarahito brahmana santu nirabhayaha. Shanti, Shanti, Shantihi. May all be well with this world. May we lead by keeping to the right path. May we honor and heal humanity that all beings may be free from pain and suffering. May we know this earth to be sacred, that she yields her fruit in abundance. May this world be free from exploitation and oppression, that the righteous may be free from hatred and fear and hatred. Peace, peace, peace. Namaste.